And I asked them, I says, who does the replanting? And they said, we don't replant. I said, ain't that kind of crazy? You guys plant the trees, but you don't, I mean, you cut the trees, but you don't plant them? And the guy decided, he says, well, that's an idea. I think I'll take it up with our group, and we'll see about replanting. I said, if they can cut the trees, they can sure the hell replant them. And so they started replanting after that.
Okay. Now,
and that's the same thing that should have happened in your forest there in Florida. They should have replanted just as soon as they cut.
Okay. Well, we're not that far along since they've cut them, but it is getting to be the time where there's new growth coming up, and it's not the pine forest that it was. So
it'd be scrub stuff. It'd be the crap.
Yeah, but we can get the Forest Service provide seeds. And I want to tell you, I had an interesting day yesterday where I was repairing my car, and I took it in to check the battery, etc., and got the battery looked at, and they told me I need a new battery. So the battery's only got 40% charge holding, and so I said okay. I looked at the warranty, and the warranty was an 18-month warranty, and the people who put it in the next town, I went to the shop where I like to get the car looked at, but where I got the battery was a different half an hour away, and I found out that my warranty was 17 and a half months in.
Yeah, that sounds like a good deal there.
This is a $120 battery, $110 battery.
Do you remember what brand it was?
No, I don't remember. Dyna something maybe, I don't know. But what happened was, I took it to the dealer. I had half a month left to go on the warranty. Bingo, saved $110. We're all really happy. That was really.
You didn't put the same battery back on, did you?
What?
You didn't put the same battery back on and same maker.
Yeah, we did. We have to.
You did? Oh.
They replaced it with the same battery, right? But
yeah, I've been looking to Duracells, and they may be a better battery. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember which brand. I will say that the guy my regular car guy, the dealer, I mean the repair shop, he told me, oh, somebody's watching out for you. I said, you betcha, and had a little conversation about that, and whoever or whatever, and because it's true, and this we're all laughing about that. And then when I went to get the battery to in the car, I went outside. There was a guy parked there, and he had a big old van that used to be like a wheelchair van or something, and he renovated it. And he's sitting there, and I go, how you doing? And turns out he is a host at one of the parks on the river. And I mean, he lives there, like the guardian of the river, of the park, Gibson Park. And so, he's the one who told me the Forestry Service has the seeds that you want. You can get them for free. And we had this whole conversation about all of this, everything, including like the AI, big project and the end of the world, and mankind's going to destroy himself. It's going to be the 6th extinction event. And we talked about the phosphorus plant that we have here, and that they want to expand southwards, and they use up about 100 million gallons of water, or something like a huge amount of water every day. They hydro cleanse out wash the phosphorus through. They use a huge amount of water, and that's the cheap way to go. It's not the good way environmentally, though, because the whole thing leaches in the environment, and they are definitely raising the cancer rates in the town, and they get away with all this. We talked about the police. In these two particular towns in these northern counties of Florida, right next to each other, is where all the slaves were brought in, and a very strong set of slave area, and it was like the Wild West here. I mean, and hanging, hang 'em high, and all of that that went on here in this part of the, and so these police and the local government people is totally corrupt and corrupted extremely, and they're all idiots, and it's quite apparent, and they don't really care about the environment. Where our river that we're talking about gets periodically, when it rains too hard, from the Georgia side in Valdosta, Georgia, they allow the runoff. They don't have it properly covered and sewaged, and the runoff goes in the river and floats down into Florida and goes down this river where the park is that I want to go and do this tree event. And so all of that is integrated because we're talking about addressing these extreme, non-natural, environmental government and authority.
I missed something here.
Yes.
Where's the contamination coming from?
It's coming from the Georgia side where the rivers come down. There's two rivers that spread out from the Georgia north of us. They spread out on both sides of the county.
It's coming from the river?
It's in the river. It comes from the sewage plant.
Oh, the sewage plant is what's causing it.
Well, not just the sewage plant. There's also another plant and other things up the river. And this is the same problem throughout Florida. There's down south, the agricultural runoff that they continually allow is also getting in the rivers.
So what you're saying is your river is a sewer dump, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, but it's not a dump per se. What happens is that it all does pass into the river, and then it flows out to the Gulf of Mexico. And so, yes, after, let's say, a month of the overflow because it happens at the plant in Valdosta, it's an overflow when there's too much rain. And that is what causes these periodic leachings. And then, the river itself purifies itself, or the wash goes all the way down to the Gulf. And so it's not like it's always polluted. It is a periodic, usually most likely around Christmas time, which is also humorously connected. We've had 2 or 3 years in a row, and for a month, you definitely, most of the people won't fish in the river anyway. But it's a beautiful river, and it's really has a very strong flow down to the Gulf. But it's still, you're not supposed to swim in it. They give it periodic warnings, and part of it is they're just covering their ass. There are parts of the river that they don't need to put the warnings on that they do, because what happens is these two rivers come down together and they meet at the confluence, which is where the Swanee River comes together. So they have 3 rivers actually meeting, and
they're all carrying the contaminants in the water.
Well,
and they all come together, and boy, it's one big mess. We have the same problem here in California, but it's not as bad as that because that's a long river. And so you got a lot of miles of leaching that goes into that river. So you guys do have a major problem there.
Oh, yeah. So this is part of the issue. And so yesterday I met this guy who knows quite a bit about all of this, and he's hosting at the park. Not the park I want to use, but it's one of the other parks along the line that runs down here from Georgia. I'm in the Florida side, so it runs from, down that alongside us there. And that's where I had the Blue Springs Park is along that Withlacoochee River. And it's very primeval looking. And I did actually, when that video, I did a kind of a baptism. I went swimming nude, and I felt like that's what I was doing, was kind of a purification, and it was, the water was clean, but the spring is in the shape of a pot, so it's called the Blue Pot Springs. And the water bubbles up in the middle there, and it's very dark and deep under there. And you can, they do the snorkeling or the scuba pretty far back underneath there. And there's springs up and down the river. And in that area, in the park of that park, Twin Rivers, there are 3 springs. One at the top, one in this Hot Springs is in the middle, and then another one pretty close to Hot Springs. Called Tanner Springs that I've never been to, but there's the whole area was called the town of Adams. Now that's my last name. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it's either I'm the caretaker or the guardian, or give me the land and I'll take care of it, because it's not really being taken care of. And give me all the property. And that's another thought I had. But the third one is, let's just have an event and make this some kind of educational, and have everybody doing something, plant the trees. So that's what I want to see, or that's what I'm projecting. Now, whether it doesn't actually happen except for a small group or something, or at all, is very likely, because it's the same thing that we're faced with, is how many people have listened to our videos, and how many people. I sent this out to a whole bunch of people today, and a whole bunch of in all my Facebook groups and on this app. Everybody, almost everybody has seen it in the last week. You want to know how many likes and thank yous and whatever I got?
0.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's pretty close. That's how bad it really is. So today, though, I met the guy, the host, and then I looked up online and said, oh, they're doing a cleaning the river, the Alapaha to the Swanee. They're on the kayaks right now today. Although it's real cold here, bitter cold. Almost 50 degrees, a very strong cold wind. It's very cold. And so it's no kind of day to be out really kayaking. But they had this plan. So I was thinking later on in the day, I'll go over to the Gibson Park and see the people, because that's the end spot when they finish up their kayak. So I was thinking, yeah, I'll go over there and I'm going to go meet some people and we'll see what happens, like that. Yeah. So there's stuff that is happening, and I don't know what to say about what that is. I also wrote the Plant a Tree Foundation, and they have claimed that they're asking for money, and they've got groups that can go out and they plant trees, or that they will plant a tree if somebody pays $5 per tree. They'll plant however many trees are donated.
Here's what gets me about all this. We pay these people in the forestry a lot of money And they collect a lot of money when they have the trees cut down. They collect a lot of money in wood, but they don't seem to be able to replant. Where does that money go? It goes into a big pothole, and it just disappears. And that's
Here's
just
what
the
I
way.
think happens.
That's the way it is with the government. They're just a bunch of wasteful people blowing your money.
Yes, I
So
think
some
that's
fat
100% right.
cats, so some fat cat somewhere can get fatter.
Well, not only that, they act
It's
like
a mess.
authorities and they'll tell you you can't go in and do this tree planting in the park because there aren't enough porta potties.
Yeah, they got more excuses to keep you out of the forest. They don't
Yeah,
want you in the forest because
no,
you don't own that forest. They do.
right.
And they're
That's
the banks. And they're the ones that run things.
well, we're
And
going
they're
to
the
find
ones that,
out here what that is, or I could do the event without letting them know. And all the people have to do, the same thing the rainbow gathering people do, is they go to the park, they park at the edge of the park, and everybody hikes in. And then they have the event, and yeah, they do have fires, but this event, events, no money is exchanged. You're not allowed to exchange money. I mean, that's the general rule is, look at, this has nothing to do with economics. And so everybody comes in and feeds each other, or they have a big, rice in the pot and whatever. And, they take care of the people and nobody has to worry about a thing. And that is what has happened. And more recently, they've had a little bit more where the police were needing to find out, they needing to get permissions, and then
you
we'll
got to
get
get
some of that
permission. You
police
got to get,
harassment.
yeah, you got to get permission. They're the boss. Yeah,
That's the
it's
situation.
just it's what happens when you live in a damn communist police state, and
Uh,
that's what it is. That's what we're going through. Oh, I wanted to ask you when you guys when they're talking about planting trees, is it seed you put in the ground, or is it actually little
Seedlings.
seedlings, or what is it?
Yeah, well, that is same thing. You can do seedlings if somebody has them all, or you just have seeds and you do the
It looks to me like it'd be easier if you had seed. You just poke a hole and stick it in there and step on it, and hopefully half of them will germinate.
well, yeah, they will. And the pine is very simple. I'm pretty sure it's pine tree seeds. That's what the Forest Service provides. But I'm told that the Forest Service provides seeds. And so I'm going to find out next week what supply of those can be had. And, I'll go through some form of asking somebody, we need permission to be able to go in this area, or at least
Yeah,
find out, do they have a plan for seeding this area, and then let us go and do it.
yeah. To ask them too. How about all this money that's charged, all these taxes that are paid, and you guys can't get off your big lazy asses and plant these seeds like anybody else can do it. And they sure in the hell could. They can sure hire people to go in there and replant those trees.
Yeah.
It's
No.
just
Right.
the whole damn thing is a scam.
All right. Well, but okay. I got that. But just talking about the scam and the cynical is, that's no, no, no. We don't want to do that. We're not dealing with them. We're dealing with what we are and what it is and what's real. So, okay. At the same time, yes, we can acknowledge this and that, and I understand. So there it is. I couldn't. Call in a helicopter and say, "Okay, Ron, we're coming with a helicopter to get you, so you can come out." And I assume you go out in a wheelchair and such, in public, right?
No, my chairs don't travel that very far.
Okay, well, that you've got a more severe, right? You would say.
I would say yeah, but it's just comfortable. Just it's too damn hard to get into a car I have a very difficult time of getting in, and that's I'm more or less homebound.
Right.
And
Okay.
it does. I'm 82. You going on 82? I'm
Right.
not an active person anymore.
No.
I
Well,
just
in
have
that
to.
sense, yeah, physically active. Okay. No problem. I don't think
But
there's a lot of things that most of the people do. I mean, from the no problem standpoint, I mean, is you could look at a whole bunch of people that mobile and getting around, and they're not doing nothing. So,
Yeah, well, I've been looking at scooters. They got scooters that are track, and you can get out in the toolies with those. But they're running about $13,000, and I just can't afford something like that.
yeah, Mercedes of the Toolies there.
Yeah, yeah. I sort of solved the problem here in California by challenging the rangers that if they can cut trees, they can sure to help plant them too. And so they sort of adopted that philosophy, and that's been like something like 20 years. So
Okay.
it's been it's the problem is with the people that are collecting your money and not doing anything, and that's the sin.
All right.
That's the real sin.
So here I want to ask you because again, we don't, our whatever we are, we're not talking about sinners and God and death and all that. So,
I'm talking about wasted money,
no, yeah,
wasted time.
I know that. I know that. Again, I'm jumping. I'm segueing to this idea of
And when volunteers has got to go out and do their job and they're being paid to do this, that's fraud. I don't care what kind of twist you want to put on it, but these people aren't doing what the hell they're paid to do.
right. But we're not going to play lawyers on them either. So,
Well, I
but
do.
the idea
I
is,
try to tell them, if you're going to collect my money, you better start doing what you're paid to do instead of sit around and give me a bunch of orders.
yeah, they're into gathering the money. That's it.
That's it. That's all they're after. They're gathering it and they're paying it off to their buddies.
Yeah,
It's
they're
like
paying
it's
their job.
the same way that Newsom when he bought $5 billion worth of masks, and they didn't send it. They sent him the money back, and he pocketed the money. And I told my representative about that, and they did nothing. And that information comes from a lawyer. It was amazing.
Um, I wanted to go into this area of the reel to reel related to that and the shows that we're doing. Because, in a way, what we're saying is you may not have mobility and or we may not also, we don't have motivity of being able to direct any of those public institutions. So what we do have is our real mobility and our communication um, and the real education and that is really doing something. That is really doing something because we're not there as an agenda of a model of economic appeal and or any kind of institutional dynamic. And just one example on doing this park idea, I'm not actually the leader. These spontaneous meetings that have happened and just happened in Canada, there's no leader that they can point a finger at and say, you're the one. You're the one who started this protest. You're the activist or the antagonist. There is no, there is no. Uh, I'm actually not the creator of it either. I think that this idea exists, and I have found it or discovered it, but in fact, um, it's coming to me, these different things, such as I want to do 3 of these in the year. The Rainbow people always did July 4th holiday, Independence Day. and or around there. And in Canada, they have Boxing Day, July 1st, always. And that is a conglomerate of that focus. Another one is I thought of, and I did these concerts in 2019 in videos. I made 30 video countdown to Woodstock's 50th anniversary. And I called it Woodstock Regeneration. Let's have the Wildstock concert, the greatest concert ever, and all the people around the world, the great musicians all come together, and or around the world, virtual, like an AIDS concert, Live Aid, and do this whole thing virtually, as well as having areas around the world, pockets, and let's have this greatest concert ever. I got nobody, hardly anyone. I got 3 people in my family to make a video. That's how far away we are from a whole perspective, a whole humane, universal, generic, true, connection. Same thing, can still do this anyway, because the real concert is really going on. And it's an ongoing, ever-present nowness. And, or, yes, we could say what it looks like is it's going to head towards an AI intelligence takeover or human makeover. And there's supposedly 3 dates on this. I don't know. I lined it up as a certain kind of like 2025, which goes with that old song by Bayer Sager or whatever, and in the year 2525. And nonetheless, then another one is the 2037, 3 Days of Darkness. And this guy I talked to, that I told you about at the park, he told me about the 6 extinction events. There have been 5. 2 of them, at least, were meteor, asteroid, whatevers. I think there were more like 3 of those. And I don't know what the 5 extinction events that he's referring to exactly, but doesn't matter. But he's saying that the 6th one is up and coming within 100 years or 200 years, where mankind and the AI implodes upon itself.
Here's a problem. Al Bielek went to 2137. That's 87. That was 187 years from 1943, and he doesn't mention anything about any of this stuff.
Who doesn't?
So, Al Bielek, he's the one on the Philadelphia experiment when him and his brother jumped over the side of the Eldridge.
Yeah, I know about it. Yep, I know the name. I know the story. Well, why don't we do Philadelphia experiment as a reel-to-reel, by the way?
We could do that. That would be a good one.
That's right. Okay. Well, so go ahead. What about Albia? It's not in his story?
It's not in the story about any of this. I mean, he went to 2137, and he showed the maps of between 2020 and 2025, 5-year difference there of all of this stuff that's happening. It's supposed to happen like along the borders of the eastern border and all along the western border. About the 3 states that's going to be involved in. They said the map's going to change a little bit, but it's not going to be a drastic change. Like on the eastern coast, about 60 miles of the coastline is going to disappear eventually within between 2020 and 2025. Now there's going to be fluctuations in there because when you put your mind on it, you can change things, and so this really messed up a lot of theory and a lot of predictions because people find out about it and they start thinking and they change it. You can change anything. Nothing is permanent. So I thought I'd just put that in there.
Yeah, I was just saying in response that ALLnatural and those guys, nobody has. As a matter of fact, all of the predictions or whatever are never going to be accurate. Everything is always subject to the change and adaptations and so forth, and that's just the issue with that. Okay. And I also want to say that Tim is with us. Welcome back, talking about the Philadelphia experiment and the ALLnatural concert, Wildstock, and what else did we talk about? We talked about the parks and the government collusion and
Yeah. We covered a
money
lot.
taking. I'm going to line you three guys up, or us four guys or five guys, as the three wise men of the new age, or something, and or the knockers, as Ronald called us, or whatever. In terms of like working with the retired population, we'll call it. Or those who would like to retire from the matrix grid controlled domination, and or at least becoming aware and getting the group as a whole, perhaps to it's one of the missions, you could call that. So, any case, you know about the Philadelphia experiment, Tim.
Yeah, I've seen the information, or whatever amount I've seen of it. It's interesting stuff, all right.
Did you see the
How all
movie?
this? No, I never seen the movie, I don't think.
That's a good movie. Very watchable.
You're talking about the movie of '84, made in '84, the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah, they got one or two or three movies out now. There's one about '93 they made. It's more of a, but the movie in '84 stays pretty much with what ALLnatural says, which surprised me.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was just thinking about how this time travel stuff, how our little world, at the point that they got to there in the Philadelphia experiment, and then to think about the alien advanced technology, or the beings from other parts of this physical realm being able to do things that we don't have any idea about, that isn't known to us humans, things that they can actually do in this physical.
Well, they gave us a chance. They could have given us more technology if we would give up the atom bomb, but they chose the atom bomb over advanced technology.
I hear that, but I'm going to say, gentlemen, that the real time travel and the real soul travel and the real awareness is three parts of that, and that's available to us totally without technology. And the whole idea that what's his name, Musk has of we're gonna this guy I talked with yesterday, we were mentioning at the park, said that Musk is thinking that's the solution. We're going to get off the planet. We'll use all our money for the rockets and the ability to anti-gravity or whatever, and we're going to other planets and or whatever. And they're going to just leave this as a shell, just dump it. I go,
good luck on that.
Really? What kind of and he's like the number one richest guy now, and that's what's in his head. Totally oblivious. And if we're thinking that we need technology in order to do these so-called, we called spiritual capacities, the 32 facets in the Eckankar, um, mentions all of these different things as a whole, the dream travel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, psychic abilities and blah, blah, because you don't really essentially need to practice or work with any single one of them. In fact, finding out your real awareness and your real essence means that you don't need any of that, and that all of that is available to you naturally and truthfully. And so that's what I call the cloud atlas. And so we get these movies like the Philadelphia Experiment or the Cloud Atlas. I don't understand it because those two movies are, the Cloud Atlas and movies like the Philadelphia Experiment or The Thing or The Day the Earth Stood Still or Forbidden Planet. Forbidden Planet is about a plant with Anne Francis, real colorful, Walter Pigeon, and Leslie Nielsen. And they land, the astronauts, space nauts land on the planet. The beautiful girl is there and the old man, and they have this huge, huge, huge computer underground. It's a total mechanism that they built, super universally advanced, and it basically wiped out the entire race. It wiped them out. Their AI technology, and that's what the movie's about. And they created a monster, which they called the monster of the id. And the id attacked the astronauts and was like in the shape of a lion. It was a psychic monster. And so at the end, the scientist is defending his machine and and telling everybody to get off and get out of here. And eventually it kills him.
Some of those movies I've dismissed completely.
Well, wait a minute. Forbidden Planet in 1950s now.
Yeah, 50s. I was 10 years old.
Well, so was I. I was 10 years old in 1961.
We were lucky. We were lucky to see a movie back then.
Really?
Well, we did. We go maybe to a movie once a year or something like that.
You're kidding me.
Oh no!
In the 50s?
We never. Yeah, in the 50s, we didn't go to movies.
Well, most of this I watched on TV for one thing, but secondly, I'm going to go. I don't understand because I saw everything on the TV, yeah. And then we went to the movies in 1950.
You were probably living close to a big city.
No. Well, yeah, my father commuted 1 hour a day to New York City.
Yeah, well, we lived in the woods.
You lived in the woods.
We lived in the woods. We didn't have a lot of TV.
Where was that? Where?
I was up in Northern California.
Oh, well, that sounds pretty great to me. I would like that.
Yeah, we lived in a small town by the name of Project City. It's called Project City. It's the one where the workers lived when they were building the Shasta Dam.
Oh, okay. What's the town name?
It was called Project City. It's about 7 miles north of Reading.
Project City.
Yeah, referred to as Project City. And then they would move closer towards the dam. Then you had Central Valley, and then you have a distance to the dam. And they set up a conveyor belt that would move all the rock up to the dam, so they mix their concrete and put their slabs in.
That's interesting.
Yeah, just a small town. Wasn't even a town, it was more or less like I don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah, Hamlet.
Well, I guess it'd be close to that. Wasn't very large.
No. Were you in the flat or was it in the mountains specifically? I mean, in the mountains.
We were between.
Oh, yeah, right. Because Paradise and Cicco Chico's in the flat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's closer to Sacramento.
Right. But still, I'm aware of that because I went up to Shasta, and well, I used to travel all around out west, and I went to all the parks and all that. And but anyway, I know that I'm related to it because in a past life I went out to California and I waited for this woman to get away from her husband, and then we were going to go back to Europe. Um, and So we eventually got married in Shasta or near there, right in the town or just south of the town, one of the towns that's near Shasta, probably. And that was where that event occurred, and I know about that. So
What year?
1880, 81, 82, one of those years.
Yeah, a lot of those places weren't even around at that time.
Well, what do you mean? They had towns out there. Yes, they did.
Not a lot of towns. You know, it was just
No,
we
not
just
big
started
towns.
growing out here.
Yeah.
We had the
Well, what's
Modoc Wars, and you know, we had to clean up the Indians so we can open
Yeah.
up some more land.
Yeah, I'm aware of that because I was an Indian too at the same time. And now it's getting complicated because you're talking about time travel.
Oh
And the
yeah.
whole idea of time travel is mistaken because people think all your lifetimes, one of the things they think, if they have lifetimes, they're all concurrent, they're linear, and you can't have two lifetimes at the same time frame. But that's not true. And you can actually have another body. Let's say right now in this lifetime, you could have another body in another place. And okay, that breaks up that idea of linear time. And so the next thing is, well, how does that occur? Time travel, in a sense, is the same thing where you're really not going from one time to another time. All you're going to or experiencing is one state to another. It would be like New York and California exist simultaneously, but each one is separate itself. And this is actually true of souls because we are not separated at any time from anything, and all events are happening in the now. And that's the true meaning, let's say, of what they call the Big Bang, I'm going to say. That's why the Philadelphia experiment happened or could work, because these guys weren't going from 1942 to 1910 or vice versa, or 1970, 80 to 1940. What they were doing was they weren't going in through time. They were going through the portal that connects all times, let's say. I guess you could look at it that way.
Well, they could have traveled back in time too, you know.
Well, you
That
can go to
happened.
any time or space, but the point
That
is
happened
it's
to.
not really time travel.
See, that's what happened to Andrew when he traveled to 1863. There was a picture taken of him, and that was between 1968 and 1972 that he traveled back. Yet they have pictures of him taken in 1863, showing him right. I mean, he was so. When he arrived, when he went to the jump room and he arrived there, he had lost his shoes, he lost some of his clothes, and the guy that made him up didn't have the clothes to fit him, so he had to make him, make it to fit him. And he was so unusual that the guy taking the photograph was a famous photographer, photographed him, and they found it in the old archives.
All right.
Now, I explain that.
Yeah. I got that, and I'm going to go with, okay, yes, it's true that we can come up with a literal scientific or human perspective you know, the thing is that all of our identities are always, yeah, we have our personal, literal specifics, but really when you're looking at this, let's say the subject that we're describing, it's not literal. There's nothing logical per se about it. It may have some form of logic and such, but this isn't the kind of logic that you can go around and yeah, we're going to convince people scientifically that past lives exist or that other dimensions exist and et cetera, et cetera. You know, but this whole field and the whole arena has opened up so widely now that we're really working at, or you can see humanity really working at it, trying to figure it out. A lot of them are trying to work from the scientific and or whatever and explain it. You know, the black physicist guy Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, admits that he thinks that the universe is a holographic dimensional context, and well,
There's no way you're going to figure this thing out. It's just too large. It's just too complicated. To try to put, put edges on it, you can't do it, or limits on it. It's way beyond what we can even contemplate. So all we can do, the best we can do is just keep stumbling through until we can try to figure some of it out.
Well, I will agree with you about the absoluteness doesn't exist.
You don't.
But
Nowhere.
nonetheless, you can, and it's really not so hard to realize. We had a discussion yesterday somewhat about this, where Val mentioned, you know, this is very simple, really. It's very, very simple. And we are aware of it, and that awareness is allowing us to have the comprehensions at some level, and or to pull in what we're experiencing or relating to in that way that makes some sense even. Nonetheless, the real thing is very simple, and there isn't any need for a mentalizing intellectual perspective or a concept that you want to hold as your reference point or relative, because you don't need to. Your whole being is actually aware of, and it knows. And it would be like communicating with sound and light, like the dolphins using their sonar to share their images, and or the whale speaking across the oceans using an echo chamber system audio, and it's very, very much exactly like that, and there isn't any real, there's no difference. It's, they really aren't learning or communicating any different than we are. And it also is true in the whole, the way the physicists are talking about it. Yes, they actually do have a reference of the 10 levels and one great all isness, but it doesn't matter either, you know, because we all have that real reference, and you want to really get that, the real awareness of the isness, that's and the all isness, because, you know, there isn't anything else. That's it, completely. And that's what I think we're talking about, and how we pull this all together. That's how, at least I'm referencing it. You know, I'm just using reference too. But at the moment, we really got to it through the Philadelphia experiment and the other governmental boondoggles, and and also even the expressions of what we started with, which is the beauty of nature and what's the purpose for this wildlife concert or wild stock concert, Burning Man, Rainbow Gathering, Flash Mob, Plant a Tree, New Ages Now event. You know, to say it, really, it's ongoing every moment. We're doing it now. We're with it now. And I guess I'm going to share because I'm looking at your background, Ronald, and seeing all white.
Yeah, I got white walls.
And you're white. So it's really a white screen here, you know, which is like the original. Our mind is supposed to be a blank screen, you know, or an all white, you know, field, something like that. Or actually, they make it look like our mind was a blank screen, which is more like black, you know, all black. But, you know, maybe you're representing being in the light of the whole, all is always in the sun. And, you know, and the whole universe is yours and ours. And, you know, it sounds like words, but it is much more. I mean, you're even more than that, I'd say. So, you know, hey, that's what we're doing here, is giving others the opportunity to go, you know, maybe that's something I can chomp into as well, you know, or Philadelphia experiment travel, you know, too, or what have you, you know, musically. I like to do that with music and stuff like that. So that's, you know, we'll have some fun with all of it.
Oh, I was just thinking about some of the Tesla statements about vibration and frequency, and how by everything has its vibration, and that by this thought, controlled thought, that you can change the vibration of things, like from water into wine or things like that. Nobody seems to be at that point about doing any of the I guess you'd call it, well, yeah, that's one word for it, I guess. It's just being able to do certain things that, like they say that Jesus guy did, whether he did or did not. We're not seeing it here in the physical. If it is happening, it's not being revealed. It don't seem like, to be able to control vibrations. Doesn't seem like anybody's doing that, turning lead into gold or any of it, or making the water pure or the air pure or the food pure. So I think maybe it is all for the best. We're just going through the process like a batch of cookies, and when it's time, we'll be done.
Yeah.
Or you'll become a computer cookie. Okay. All right. I know that none of that technology stuff is any of an answer, and it's true, because the same thing, you actually have all those whatever abilities if needed, and you have no need for them. There's no need to use them, in fact, and so that's certainly part of it. But you are in fact using your abilities and your capacities in creation, and doing that in full color, technicolor. But you know, being able to handle a technicolor camera does require quite a bit of machinery, which they used in the 50s movies, by the way. But then let that go for the more simpler hands-on filmmaking. But again, according to one of the persons I talked to this week that we had, and I think he's here, said something about having 12 DNA strands, Oh, that was Fred Perlman. He said about the 12 Bringers of the Dawn book. We used to have, when we first came down, 12 DNA strands, and now we're down to 2. So no wonder we feel limited and cut off and exfoliated and expatriated and all of the rest of all of those words, aided and funated and infamated and you see, you go on and on there if you're staying in the mind to talk about it. So yeah, but really, truly, you're already there doing it. You're already in it. You are of it. And if we only pay attention to the effects, which is what's going on and the categories of limitations that we're seeing, that realization and reolution, um, and I also call it free responsibility too. You have the freedom and the responsibility connected to make the choice here and now what you're going to do. So, okay, that's the 1 hour. It's cool. Thanks, Tim. And thanks. I'm going to stop the recording. Let's do a new you. Tim?
You.
Ronald?
No, you.
No.